Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Boston Sports Nuts. The date is April 30, 2025. Is that right?
That's the year I think we're in.
And this is the day that we're taping our show today. I'm Paul Izzo, along with my good friends Ken Berman and Jim Russo. We got two big topics today.
Two.
We're
Nice.
going to talk a little NFL football and then focus on the Boston Celtics, who are in the middle of their annual playoff run. It's been happening a lot the last several years. It's been a lot of fun. So let's get right at it. The Patriots have had their draft, their 2025 draft. I'm just going to say that I think we didn't do too badly here on Boston Sports Nuts. We had the top three picks being an offensive tackle, a running back, and a wide receiver. We actually nailed the wide receiver, Kyle Williams, out of Washington State.
Well, you did.
But we got the order wrong. The first two, I would have preferred to get the
running back
first and try to get the offensive tackle later. But I don't think any of us know if it's a good draft or a bad draft. I think the idea that you can grade a draft is, a little silly, especially if you look at all these draft grades and everybody gets an A or a B. How can everybody get an A or a B?
I know.
No one ever gets an F. Oops. No one ever gets a D. So I'm a little reluctant to give it a grade, but I like the fact that they focused on offense. I like the fact that they've gotten some players that at least national pundits are very high on. The running back, Trevion Henderson. I actually have looked at film of him. He looks great. So overall, I'm pleased with the draft. I don't want to give it a grade, but I thought it was a good, solid draft by the Patriots.
First of all, I'm giving you credit, Paul. I mean, you did a lot of draft homework, and you brought it together for Boston Sports Nuts, and you came up with a pretty good draft, and they pretty much followed it. You and I were in the same camp. I wanted that Genty kid, whatever his name was, but everything
still is his name.
But hey, they took a pretty dynamic-looking running back. It seems to me. I mean, you never know till he gets there, but they just needed they need some playmakers, some guys who can make some scoring. Yeah, I know you got to block for them, but there's a lot of guys you block for, and then they can't break a tackle or make a guy miss. So I like that pick.
Yep. Any thoughts, Jim?
Yeah, I have some observations on the draft.
Okay.
Number one, 120,000 people showed up the first day.
At Lambeau Field.
What can I say but kudos to the NFL marketing department?
Yeah.
120,000 people to see Roger Goodell go. The fourth pick.
In the 2025 NFL draft.
Incredible. So kudos to them.
Wait a minute. Did they hold it out on the field? I didn't even watch.
No, it was outdoors.
Yeah, outdoors.
You don't know Ashton Genty's name. You don't know where the draft is.
No, I know Genty's name.
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture in my head where they.
It was in a massive plaza right outside
right.
Lambeau Field.
Okay.
My next observation
blanked out on it.
is this. Throughout the Belichick years, people who didn't think he was a good drafter, and I've detailed what I've done on that he was fine until the last 5 years, but I got the feeling that a lot of people would rather win the draft than win the games. Now, I know that's true, but their actions were like that. Oh, we did this, we did that, then we win a Super Bowl, but Belichick can't draft. So this year, it seems pundits and experts say we won the draft. My question is, are we going to win any games? Okay. So the other thing I hear is the Patriots satisfied positional need. Okay, I can go in there and draft the positions they need. We won't know if they've got positional needs till they actually play. Okay? Which brings me to Henderson, the guy you mentioned. I heard right off the bat, that's a reach. He's good, but that's a reach. Then later on, this could be great. This reach stuff is based on people who look at the draft, do a whole board, and then go, they don't tell you that I've got him down low. They have no clue what the Patriots board is.
Right.
So I don't. And speaking of the Patriots board, okay, one of my things I wanted to see as a fan was who's running this draft. Who's their Brad Stevens? So I found it interesting that after they made Campbell the first-round pick, Mike Vrabel came out to answer questions about Campbell. And what did I learn about that? My observation is Mike Vrabel loved Campbell. He donned the pads against him at an LSU workout. He likes his attitude. He likes the way he plays. He likes everything about him.
Supposedly an animal.
Yeah, it's clear. This is, he loves him. What I found interesting reading the Globe yesterday was Elliott Wolf admitted that in the second round with the aforementioned Henderson, there was a disagreement on 2 players, which he found healthy, and I do too. But one of the players got drafted. But the question in my head is still, if that player hadn't got drafted, who would have made the final call?
You mean the other player that they were considering got drafted? So
who would have made the final call? Wolf? Vrabel? Mr. Kraft? I don't know. I still don't know that. So all of those things.
I'm saying Vrabel.
That's I would think so too, but I don't know. But that's my observation on the draft.
Well, this is not to attack your observation. I'm just expressing my own point. I'm past worrying about who is responsible for what at the Patriots. I go back to the last game of the season, which they clearly should have lost, and you could see on the day of the draft how much it cost them.
Yeah.
I mean, teams at the top of the draft received, a lot of picks to move down. But I don't really care who's in charge.
Well, Paul, trust me, I'm not worried about it, and I don't care. But what I'm saying is, I don't think collaboratives work in situations like this. I don't think they work.
I think it's for show.
I think they. And as a fan, I'd like to know. One of your pet peeves was Belichick never told us anything.
Right.
Well, I think we're still in that with guys who put on better faces than Bill Belichick
well,
did.
I'm
just curious as a fan.
All right, I'm going to do a Felger and Maz and make up the story because this is what I would speculate.
Well, you speculate. That's fine.
I think that the Patriots were traumatized by giving too much power to one guy in the case of Bill Belichick. I think that they thought that was part of the problem, which is they had a dictator. And they wanted it to be more collaborative because that's the way they behave in their box business, in their other businesses. So I think once they decided to move more in the direction of collaboration, it was such a colossal failure in the case of 2024 that they said, okay, we're going to make baby steps back toward dictatorship. We're going to bring in a very strong-willed head coach, a guy with a pedigree, Mike Vrabel, who's clearly not going to do something that he doesn't want to do. But we're going to keep Elliott Wolf and these other guys around.
They're around
to be sounding boards and to challenge them. But I think once Vrabel establishes himself, it wouldn't surprise me to find out that Wolf becomes the chief of scouting and Vrabel ultimately is the decision maker.
Well, that's as good a speculation as any. I'm just, as a fan, I'm curious. That's all. It's like, I know what the Celtics, Brad Stevens makes that decision. With the Bruins, it's Sweeney. I'm curious that they've gone.
That Belichick dictatorship thing, that really became a problem at the end. Not so much on draft picks, but on, I thought, coaching picks, and the way he narrowed down the whole staff, and the way he got these weird people coaching that had no right coaching just for. Because I guess he either thought he could do it all himself or for some other reason. But I found that's really what deteriorated.
Well, coaching picks are always going to be the head coach.
Right. No, but
I'm just saying, look around the league. You've got a GM whose prime responsibility, draft, signing players, free agents. He takes input from the coach. As a fan, I'm just curious if they're doing it that way. Paul's probably right. I would guess, too, that Vrabel has the final say.
So are you okay with the Campbell pick? Either if they got him in the first pick or the second pick, are you okay they got him?
Look, I've seen enough film now and heard enough hosannas thrown at him that I've made peace with it. To me, Gentie's a generational player. If you're drafting in the top 5 or 6, I like to see you aim high like that. Hopefully they don't regret that decision. Hopefully Campbell turns out good. One of the things you got to like about Trevion Henderson, which is something I was not aware of before the draft, he was hands down the best blocking running back in the NCAA. And there are highlight clips of him blasting over defensive
Where does he
linemen
rate
and
as a runner?
linebackers.
Compared
Pretty high. He's never
Like,
fumbled. He never fumbled.
Never had a fumble.
Never had a fumble.
Is he the second best running back in the draft?
No, he was in the top 5. He
Top
was in the
five?
top 5.
'Cause-
But he doesn't have the breakaway speed. He's more of a power guy. But he's the whole package with the blocking, and that's something that Josh McDaniels finds very important. The one thing the Patriots didn't do, which I thought they would do or I would have done, they didn't draft a guard. They went for the center, which apparently was good value. The one thing they did, which I thought they would do, is they drafted a kicker.
Yep.
The long snapper draft pick was very interesting.
Yeah, what's that all about?
It's about moving on from the Belichick era. They wanted to move on from Joe Cardona. There's no reason to think Joe Cardona couldn't keep long snapping. They probably saved $700,000 getting a young kid to do it, and they move on from the Belichick
That's not a
era.
waste of a pick, a long snapper.
Well, how many players in the 6th and 7th round turn out to be anything? I mean, it's
Well, some people did bring that up. Some of the pundits. That,
Did they?
This is not. But I think they thought that he was not going to be available as a free agent.
I always wonder
They
why
thought
your
somebody
center
would-
can't be a long snapper.
They thought somebody was going to
What's that?
take him.
I always wonder why your regular center can't be your long snapper.
well, I mean, that's a good question. I think in the old days they all were.
Yeah, I mean they.
But since the 80s with the Steve Diassis and the Zach Diassis, and
Yeah.
you see more of these long snappers. So the other big NFL story over the weekend, I don't want to linger too much on it, is the failure of Shedeur Sanders to be drafted at the top of the draft.
Interesting, huh?
There's been a lot said about it, a lot written, a lot speculated. Was the NFL being punished? I'm sorry, was the NFL punishing him for his behavior leading up to the draft? I just want to make a couple of observations, having looked at this draft a lot. Stephen A. Smith came on Monday, and it's funny. He tried to thread the needle between accusing the NFL of racism and not. But it was interesting. He kept saying 32 teams passed on him. Well, 19 teams, by my count, didn't need to draft a quarterback. I counted 19 teams. The teams that with the Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, Herbert, Nick, Stroud, Tua, Lawrence, Mahomes, Goff, Mayfield. I'm not going to read all the names.
Right.
But there were 19 teams that did not have to draft a quarterback, only 2 of which did. So teams that already had an established quarterback acquired a quarterback in the draft. That means that there were, say, 14 or 15 teams in the pool to draft Shedeur Sanders. One of those teams took a quarterback at the top of the draft, Cam Ward, which everybody agreed was the top quarterback pick.
Yeah, number 1 pick.
So that means there's like a dozen teams. And if you look at each one of those teams individually, and I actually have done that, you can see that they either chose somebody else for reasons that would appear to be legitimate football reasons, or in the case of the New York Giants, probably took him because he failed his interview. So the idea that the fact that all these teams passed on him, first of all, not all the teams did pass on him. A team took him. The Cleveland Browns took him in the
After they took another quarterback.
right, but they took him. Okay,
Yeah, that was
it was interesting.
Yeah.
If they didn't want him at all in the league, obviously you don't take him. So I struggle a little bit with the conspiracy argument. The other thing is, it's not true to say every single pundit thought he was a top 5 pick.
True.
Somebody that I follow who goes by first round mark, Daniel Kelly, used to be a scout. He said from the beginning of the draft, I wouldn't draft him at all. He's got a lot of followers. There were other people like him that had him rated lower. So I think you just got to be careful when you buy into the Mel Kiper argument that he's clearly a first-round pick, that there has to be a reason other than football that he wasn't taken. I just don't buy it. And he's now going to get a chance to prove himself.
Can I give my opinion on this?
Give it.
I think there's a couple of things. One, I don't think he's as good as some people thought he was. I watched some film on him. I didn't think he was all that special throwing the ball. I don't know. I saw a lot of floaters and wobbly passes and things. But two things. He didn't interview well. He went in there telling everybody what he's going to do and how he's going to run things. And I have this feeling, this is my own conspiracy theory, that his dad prime time there, Dion, right, was going to be hanging around saying, I want to coach my kid if it's not going well.
By the way, that's not a conspiracy theory. Oh. He was interviewed by a female reporter. It's all over YouTube. It's all over X, Twitter, saying, I'm not going to let my kid end up in a situation that's not right for him. And if he's borderline and I'm a GM, I'm saying,
I'm not dealing with that.
Can we get somebody else? Is Will Howard available?
Okay. Are you done?
Yeah, I just don't think you want his dad sitting around saying, I want the head coaching job where my kid got drafted.
Okay. I say this with all due respect to our host, to you, Ken Berman, to Stephen A. Smith, to Mel Kiper, to First Round Mark, to all the other pundits that have put so much work into the NFL draft and filled us with so much information.
They do.
I don't care. I don't care about this story. He's not on the Patriots. I don't care what happens to Deion Sanders' son. I wish him well, like I wish all the picks well. I don't care. I don't care if he was dropped because people don't think he's good. I don't care if he was dropped because people think his father's going to interfere. I don't care. I've just spoken more than I care about this story. I care more about Kobe Minor from Memphis, who was taken with the Patriots' 7th round pick, 257th. I care more if this cornerback's going to work out than Deion Sanders' son. I'm sorry. I don't care.
Okay.
I found it
That's just my
interesting, though.
opinion. And
Good
I say
opinion.
it with all due respect to all of you who do.
That's a good opinion. I can go with
It's
that.
it's a big story, and
No, I don't deny that. It is a huge
you're-
story.
You're not among the majority of sports fans
Oh,
who find
God,
it
no.
compelling. The one thing I will say about it, it's obvious that Mel Kiper decided that where Shedeur Sanders is going to end up in the draft was one of the narratives that he was going to follow throughout the course of ESPN's coverage. And I'm not with you in not caring, but I found it tedious that every single time a team passed on him, that we had to be reminded of it.
Right.
And especially when there were instances in which players were drafted, and instead of showing their highlight film, he went back to talking about that Shedeur Sanders wasn't picked. So
Before we get through this or
Yeah.
done with this, whatever you move on to, Mr. Host, you nailed the Patriots' 3rd-round pick, correct?
thank you.
Kyle Williams, right?
Yes.
Good job.
Thank you.
What do you think?
I got lucky. No, he's a very solid wide receiver. He's an X receiver. He's,
He's an ex-receiver?
it's a term they use for
What does it
guys.
mean?
They're sort of like in the slot, and they
all
get.
right.
But he went up against who's the kid, the second round pick that
Carter? No.
the other
Hunter,
guy,
Travis
Hunter.
Hunter.
Travis
went up
Hunter.
against Travis Hunter 1-on-1 and beat him down the field. So that film's all over the internet too.
Great.
So anyway, all right. So enough about the NFL draft. We'll know a lot more. Oh, by the way, in free agency, the Patriots picked up a couple of interesting players. We'll talk about that.
They got a quarterback, right?
Yeah, they took quarterback
And a
Josh
Boston
Dobbs.
College lineman?
Josh Dobbs.
And a
They got
Boston- yes.
they got a kid from Boston College. They also got a running back that a lot of people really, really like. Just don't ask me to remember his name. He's sort of in the Danny Woodhead mold.
That's mode. That's a fine player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. The Boston Celtics. Tough opening round against the Orlando Magic. Major kudos to the Orlando Magic guys for the fight that they put up against the Celtics. They were shorthanded. They were missing a couple of key players. I thought they were very well coached. I thought the Celtics gave them all they can handle. Ken, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah.
Thoughts about the Celtics, where they are right now, and
Okay,
later on
this-
we'll get to the NBA in general.
Well, first of all, glad they wrapped it up and got out of this round. Before this started, I said I wanted Atlanta for this reason.
You did say that.
That I
Yes, he
didn't
did.
want to play Orlando because I knew they were rough and tough. And in the first round like that, you just don't want to get beat up because it's such a long process to get to if you get to the finals, you know what I mean? You just, and they did exactly that. Orlando did that. They were rough. Tatum went down with the wrist injury, and Holiday now has a hamstring, and Brown with the knee, and they were just banging us all over the place and playing very physical. Yes, they're well coached. They were missing Suggs. That was the big guy they were missing. But a good, rough, tough series. I'm glad it's over with. They got through it. Their second half pretty much said, we're going to take care of these guys because we got way more talent than them on the floor, and we're going to get this over with, and they did. So good series, good wrap-up. For any Tatum doubters out there still, come on, man. He had a heck of a series.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think the Magic, as Paul said, all credit to the Magic. They came in. This is how they play, and they weren't deterred from it. And they made the Celtics play their game for 75 to 85% of the series. And that's why the series, they were close games, even though it ended up 4-1. Their defense is incredible. They've taken advantage of the shift we've talked about since after the All-Star game in 2024, the physical play of the NBA. Phenomenal job. I'm with you, Ken. Washburn wrote it today. This will toughen the Celtics up. I'm with Scal and you that getting beat up like that, no, I'm sorry. I don't want that. I would have preferred sweeping the Heat like Cleveland did.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong. You're right about Tatum. The last 3 games, I mean, he had that stat, hadn't missed a free throw, double-digit free throws, 35 points. Incredible. Just incredible.
31, 11, and 5 for the series.
Yeah. He was
Not bad.
He was great. And he missed the game. So overall, tough series. You're so right about Suggs. I mean, if Suggs plays and Holiday doesn't, that thing's probably 7.
Yeah.
Suggs is really good, and Mo Wagner is no slouch.
Right.
So I would say a little big picture stuff. Pistons winning last night was huge for the Celtics. They haven't said anything in the NBA. My guess is if the Pistons win Thursday night, we're looking at a Celtics-Knicks Sunday. That's my guess.
If the Knicks win.
I'm sorry, did I say Pistons?
Yeah.
Knicks. I'm sorry. That's big because if the Celtics had to come back Thursday or even Friday after this thing, I mean, this gives Holiday more time. It gives the others more time. And the second big picture take to me is this really what the NBA wants?
Well, according to, by the way, I'm going to hop in. According to Bertrand, when I was driving here, he was like, oh, the fans love this. This is great. This is like a throwback. People are loving this. And I'm thinking, they are?
Let's get real. This is the 90s. This isn't the 80s, okay?
Right.
This is not the Celtics-Lakers 80s,
Okay,
the
you got to
Celtics
explain
Sixers.
to our listeners what you're talking about.
This is the 90s where the Pistons coming out of the 80s and Pat Riley's Knicks just muddied up the game, made it ugly, and the NBA allowed it. This is Mo Wagner last night in the fourth quarter, maybe?
You mean
right. Absolutely mauled Al Horford away from the ball, and it was on the screen.
Right.
Nothing.
It was
Nothing.
unbelievable.
2 arms. It was unbelievable. And I want to say one more thing about this. Scal said last night, and he sits near the court, right? He's on the court. Well, right over. Jason Tatum went up to Brothers after I think Wagner was at the line or another side, and he said, if you don't take care of this, I will. And I saw Tony Brothers smile, laugh, like it's a joke, okay? And Scal reported what he said. If he really said that, I can't blame him because the way Wagner was playing him.
Oh.
Now, in the old days, before we were fans, teams had enforcers to take care of guys like that. So the Stars didn't, okay? Then some of the good players became the enforcers. Do we really want to go back to that? Where Jason Tatum is going to have to take this guy out? And the Celtics can't have that because in this league, they'll give him a flagrant 2. I'm sorry.
Well,
but,
90s was final score 83-79 every night.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it came down to. The 80s, the Bird Magic era, that was still high-flying, showtime.
And they were physical.
And they were physical, but they still played really good basketball. Yeah. I don't want the 90s again. We watched the 90s. That was my least favorite era of basketball.
Well, I think the NBA, I'll defend them a little bit. I think the NBA doesn't know what to do right now. I think that
Good point.
in the last couple of years, there's been a hue and cry about teams coming down, and it looks like an all-star game. I take a three, you take a three.
Right.
Yep.
Long rebound comes out, kick it to another guy, he takes a three, and it was getting a little bit ridiculous. So, okay, if we let there be a little more physicality, that will take away some of the three-point shooting. They'll pound it inside. We'll let them get away with a little bit more.
Yeah.
It'll make it look like a little bit more like the old days, although not quite, because we don't have the players. We don't have the big men underneath posting up.
Right.
We don't have Chamberlain. We don't have Wes Unseld. We don't have those guys.
Rick
So
Mahorn
it's
and Jeff Ruland.
Right. It's a different game, different set of players. But I agree with you guys that the game has got. I mean, the Al Horford one was almost kind of laughable.
Oh.
It was sort of like the poster child picture of a guy literally being bear hugged and elbowed and grabbed and clutched. And Al just has this look on his face like, this is basketball?
Right.
Like, what are we doing here?
Well, Scal had a great line last night because Jaylen Brown said this isn't basketball. And he said, Jaylen's right, except the Magic are using it to great effect. I thought that was absolutely true. And as you started this segment, kudos to the Magic. I mean, I don't think... Yeah, I don't like the way they play, but I give them credit. I give them all the credit in the world. They played so hard. That's the other thing, by the way. Their physicality doesn't just reflect in that Wagner play. It reflects the way they play defense. Yeah. They are in your face when you cross half court. Yeah, they're physical, but they also play good defense with their feet. Mm-hmm. And this is going to sound like a knock on two of our subs, but it's not. It's credit to the Magic. For 4.5 games, they basically, except for the first game, took Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser and exposed their limitations as players. Kudos to the coach. Kudos to the team. They can't beat people off the dribble if they're great defenders. They couldn't get their shots because they were not doubling off Tatum and Brown. And we also, as Celtics fans, realize a lot of Pritchard Hauser's success goes to Tatum and Brown, who beat people off the dribble, get double teamed, kick to them. Now, can any other team, that's the other big picture thing. Does this formula go on to more rounds to beat the Celtics? One thing Scal brought up last night was he doesn't think any other team can do it because they don't have the personnel. You do have to have the personnel.
Right.
He thinks the one team that could do it is
by the
OKC.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma's the obvious choice because they already play great defense.
Yeah, they're
the highest rated
physical
defense in the league.
What I didn't like about their... We just pointed out the Wagner, whatever you say, holding
He's
Al.
a great composer, too, by the way.
Holding Al.
True.
I thought they were holding everybody once they crossed over half court. It was a lot of two-hand arms around your Celtic player, and that kudos to them because they
got away with it.
They got away with it, and the Celtics just never play like that. That's just not their style.
No, and that's a good point, Ken. It's easy to say from here, Celtics, just play like them. Yeah. Well, they don't do that.
Right. That's
that's like saying, you got to change everything in a dime. I've only seen that done basically once.
Well, Joe Mazzulla has said many times. He said it before the game last night in his radio interview. I didn't see the TV interview. You play your game.
Right.
You do what you're good at.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't react as much to what the other team's doing or try to anticipate what they're going to do. You prepare for what you're going to do and you go do it.
Right.
And, I got to say, I was impressed with the Celtics in this series.
I agree.
Orlando
Definitely.
gave the Celtics early in the series, people on the radio were saying, this is what happens when you can't shoot the three. They still won the series.
Oh, they did find another way to win.
They
They
had
found
six
another way.
3-point attempts in the first half, and they missed them all. 6 in the first half.
They did not make a three-pointer in the first half, and I think they were only down 2 at the half.
2.
They were.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that shows you they can compete without the three-point. They can play physical. Maybe not like Orlando, but they can play physical.
Oh, yeah, they didn't back down.
When they get going and they can overcome Orlando, and I just want to get to one critical mistake Orlando made. They can blow you out of the building. They still have that ability. So I want to talk about the failure of the coach, the Orlando coach, to put Banchero back in the game.
Oh, yeah.
I've never agreed with the idea that you take a guy out for a very long period of time. If a guy's in foul trouble early, okay, you take him out when they get 2. They all do that. You get a quick 2, you take him out for the rest of the first quarter. But when you're in a game where you're fighting for your life, I think you got to take the risk. Take him out for a couple of minutes, calm him down, give him some pointers about how to avoid that 6th foul. But leaving him out is the equivalent of having him foul out.
Yeah, I agree.
He was out for 10 game minutes from what I recall.
Something
He
like
was,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
something like
and
that.
I agree. And there's another reason I agree. You got to know your team, okay? The Boston Celtics can play without Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum for 10 minutes. Now, I wouldn't do that, but they could, and they've
Right.
proven it.
That's right.
They just played 3 games without Drew Holiday,
Right.
and they
They
won
played
2.
the playoffs last year without Porzingis.
Yeah, and they won the game 2 without Jason Tatum.
Right.
Magic have Banchero, they have Wagner, a couple of complimentary players, but they don't have scorers. They don't have. You had to play him. I personally, if I'm coaching, I let it get to 6 to 10, and then he's coming. I'm calling timeout to get him back in.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. When it got to
Because for
10,
a couple of minutes they kept it at 3.
Right.
I'm still keeping him out at 3.
right.
Once you get to 8 to 10,
10,
no way.
Timeout, you get him back in the game. He let it go on till the
It got
lead.
to like 22.
Yes.
Yeah, he let it blossom to like 22 points, and I'm thinking to myself, thank you. First of all, thank you. I'm a Celtics fan.
He basically fouled out.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And he was just saying it was clear. We're going to take him out and put him in to start the fourth quarter. And all right, if you're down 3 going into the fourth, you're fine.
You're down 17 or
No,
20.
I think it was 20 something.
20 something,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm with you guys.
By the way,
There's
they
no
went.
way.
I think I texted you guys. It was at one point 63 to 29 in the second half, and they ended
Yeah.
up scoring 70-something points in the second half.
Yeah.
And by the way, all the credit in the world once again to Tatum, because everything was tight the first half. Everything was. They just didn't seem to have any flow. Obviously, credit to Orlando, like we said. But I think Tatum at one point just said, I'm going to dribble this way, that way, and I'm going to take a 3. And he made it. And then he did it again about a minute or so later. And then it seemed to me that every one of the Celtics players said, you know what? I'm just freeing up. I'm going to start just doing what we do best.
Good
And
point.
they just started flowing, and there was no stopping them. Everybody had confidence. There was a great play at one point when Hauser came in. They ran a great double stagger pick for him. He came off the pick. He caught it in three-point territory, swished it without even hesitation. Tatum got them flowing.
Yeah. Well, this would be a lot different conversation if we knew exactly who they were going to
gonna
play in the
play,
next
yeah.
round. But I'm going to say I think whether it's Detroit or the Knicks, it's going to be a series. I think,
absolutely.
I think both of those teams. Look, the Celtics have won 200 games in a row against the Knicks. I think that goes out the window in the postseason.
Totally.
I think Brunson is a player
Close
on the level of the Celtics stars. Maybe
Yeah.
not quite there, but
Oh, yeah.
he's close. Playing in Madison Square Garden carries with it a certain amount of extra juice for the Knicks. Detroit is an up-and-coming team. The Celtics have struggled a little bit, playing those kind of teams. So I think whoever they face in the next round is going to give them a handful.
Cade Cunningham is a
if
star.
it's the Knicks we know about, they'll be tough. I agree. Detroit, on the other hand, they easily could have ended this series. To me, watching that series, they just can't close. They're at that step where they closed last night, but they have trouble closing. They have trouble
do,
getting a good
yeah.
shot.
They've had leads in every fourth quarter.
And, they are really good. And Cunningham, to me, there's been 3 breakout stars in the playoffs so far. And when I say breakout, Curry's been great, Jokic has been great. But people we know Tatum. 2 of them just played against Celtics. I had no idea Wagner was that good. I knew he was good.
Yeah.
He's one of the best finishers in the league, period.
Right. They couldn't stop him.
But he makes shots from unbelievable angles. Uses the glass, doesn't use the glass. Goes over Porzingis. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And Banchero, we kind of knew, but now we know how good.
Yeah.
He's so physical. He's so good. His absence proved his value. We just
he's
talked about
smooth,
it.
too.
The other breakout star to me that the country's learning about who follows this is Cade Cunningham. The guy's phenomenal. The guy and another physical player.
He's a big guy.
Yeah, they're going to be tough.
You need Drew Holiday in whatever series is next.
We absolutely need Drew Holiday in this next series. Drew Holiday, sorry.
Okay. Well, I'm going to cheer my guts out for Detroit because I want that series to go as long as it possibly.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah, we're in on that.
Everybody
Celtics-
tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Rooting for Detroit.
Detroit in Detroit,
Yeah.
but home court doesn't seem to matter in that series. By the way, the Knicks have not closed out a series at home since like 1999, according to Frank Isola. And they lost another chance to. Maybe they'll get it one in Game 7, hopefully. And Detroit, they're tough. They're tough.
All right, I want to move on to some of the other series. We can't
Let's
spend
go.
too much time on them. I'm going to start with Milwaukee getting bounced out by Indiana. Not a huge surprise, I don't think, especially with Damian Lillard going
Lillard
down.
out is
I think the question there is, before we get to Indiana, is this the end of a run for Milwaukee? Do they blow it up? Does Giannis move on to Miami? There's been some speculation.
he'll go to
there.
the Lakers. Isn't he going to the Lakers?
Well, it's tough to imagine how they make the money work there. But would it surprise you?
No, the NBA will make the money work there. Don't worry. The league will make the money work for Giannis.
No,
if
I
he
think
wants to
that's
go
a
to the Lakers.
very good question. The way they lost, they were up 6 points with under a minute to play in regulation.
I think
They
it was
tied.
7, actually.
No, in overtime.
Oh,
it
okay.
was
7.
It was 117-111 in regulation. In overtime, it actually got to 8 when Green made the first free throw. He missed the second, which turned out to be huge. They lost an 8-point lead in 40 seconds. Not only did they lose the lead, they lost the game. 9 points. Turnovers. So yeah, that's a very good question, Paul. And I think it's certainly possible. Giannis may say,
I'm going somewhere else.
yeah. And without Lillard, I predicted the Pacers to win. I had the Celtics in 5, by the way.
Yes, you did. Credit.
Okay. Credit. I predicted the Pacers, and they'll be a much tougher matchup for Cleveland. But yeah, that's a great question. This could be it for Milwaukee. And Doc Rivers, oh my God.
Our beloved Doc Rivers, our championship coach of 2008, Ubuntu and all that stuff. A first-round loss. He's just...
Hey, at least he didn't blow a 3-1 lead or
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
He's done before.
Yeah.
3 times, I think.
Yeah.
So on to Indiana. That's a tough team. I'll tell you what.
They're good,
that
too.
team, they run the ball. They have made baskets, non-made baskets. They play quick. They're a tough matchup for anybody. I'll as we get to Cleveland, but I'll take Cleveland in 6, but they're going to give Cleveland a series.
I think it's funny that Halliburton has been all over these games after he was named the most overrated player in the NBA by his peers.
Really?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago that came out.
Yeah.
They asked him about it, and he was more good-natured than I would have been if I was named the most overrated
Especially
player.
if you're
in
an
the NBA.
Olympian.
Yeah, but he's really turned it on. I thought the last play of the game, when he just beat Giannis off the dribble, was really interesting.
Where was the help?
No one collapsed on him going down the lane.
The game's on the line. You're letting an Olympian go in for a layup?
I
can't
had the same
believe it.
thought. I mean, isn't there hey, stop ball? Didn't
It was
we
the
learn that in
second time he
rec
did it
basketball?
in that stretch.
Wow, that was
Yeah, I'm
interesting.
with you, Paul. That was, I'm just like, where's the help?
Yep.
That's a good team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cleveland rampaged through their series.
Oh.
They're scary.
Okay, I think we can all say we are not fans of the Heat, right?
Yeah.
With the Celtics Heat, healthy rivalry, right? I mean,
Yep.
we like rivalries.
Yeah.
So let me say, as a non-Heat fan, the most one-sided loss in the history of the National Basketball Association for a series, when you add all the points they lost by. It is the most lopsided loss in history.
Right.
They lost Game 4 by what, 51
points or
something like that. Heat culture? I think Heat culture needs good players.
Yeah,
It was a disaster. I'm not sure we learned anything about the Heat in that. I mean, about the Cavs in that series.
No, the Heat didn't show up.
It
to
didn't
play.
expose any weaknesses of the Cavs. We knew the Cavs were good.
Yep.
They basically crushed the Heat. Where do the Heat go from here? There's a lot of talk about that. I don't want to spend a lot of time on
Right.
it, but
They got work to
Pat
do.
Riley still is very much
he's
into
still
it.
Pat Riley.
He's still Pat Riley. I'm thinking he's going to figure out a way to get Giannis. And
Oh yeah, it goes back to your first question.
Yeah.
He's going to go for a star like he always does, and I think his first target will be Giannis.
Yeah, he'll build around it and
Yeah.
give a million picks or something.
Yep.
Can we go out west, or do you have more you want to say about the East?
That's the 4 series, right?
Yeah.
I'm fine.
All right, so let's go out west. LA. I want to talk first about the LA series,
Which LA?
LA Lakers series.
Okay.
Okay, Newman. Something happened in that game which I thought was very interesting. On Sunday, they did not sub once
In the
second half. Now, there's been a lot of talk about it. I was actually saying it as the game was going on.
You did.
I texted you guys at the beginning of the fourth quarter saying, wow, are these guys going to get tired? They're not resting them. For our Celtics fans out there, this is why they take Brown and Tatum out at the beginning of quarters. And I sit there, and I'm as guilty as the next guy. Why is Brown out? Why is Tatum out? They're 26 years old. They're 27 years old. This is why. At the end of that game, the L.A. Lakers players were completely gassed. I mean, you could see it. They couldn't defend. They couldn't score. They had no hope at the end of that game. It's a really hard game to play. 40 minutes, especially when you're 40, as in the case of LeBron.
Yeah.
I think Redick deserves criticism for that. He left Gabe Vincent on the bench. Okay, you put some subs in and you give up 4 or 5 points. It's worth it to give those guys rest. And I think that Luka, I'm sorry, Luka, I know you're watching. I know you watch Sports Nights.
Well, who isn't?
Okay, it's now that we're nationwide.
Yep.
You got to get in better shape. I'm sorry. He's not in as good enough shape for a guy that makes that much money.
LeBron and Luka played 46 minutes in that game. Russell-ian. Trivia question. One other player in the NBA played 24 minutes in the second half on Sunday.
Tatum.
Jason Tatum.
He's
but he
in
was
great shape.
He was only one player. That to me made no sense. No sense. LeBron James is a miracle.
What is that
But he's-
series at 3-1
Yeah,
Minnesota?
but he's 40. I mean, it's a miracle what he's doing. He's the Tom Brady of the NBA.
he's
I mean,
phenomenal at
but he
his
is
age.
40. I mean, give him 4 minutes, like you said, so you lose 3 points.
Like, don't they? Like, I think when the playoffs come, the coaches know this. Like, hey, I'm going to rest LeBron to start the quarter. The first timeout comes at about the 7-minute mark, so you get the quarter break after the first quarter. You rest him for 5 minutes in the beginning. You get the long timeout for national TV games.
Yeah.
And then you bring him back.
That's like 20 minutes.
Yeah. And Luka, I don't know what kind of shape he's in. I mean, I think a lot of his fans would like to see him in better shape. So, I mean, he played a great game, no doubt about it.
Well,
but
he's so good that he always
he's
good.
The last shot was a very good shot they got. Got to give him credit for that because Minnesota blitzed Luka. He somehow got it to LeBron, who then a defender charged him, and he made a good pass to the corner. And by the way, if they're shooting a 3, Austin Reeves might be the guy you want shooting it.
Oh, they got it to the
And he
right
was
guy.
wide open, and he hadn't played those big minutes, but he had played 24 minutes in the second half. Like you said, who knows if he had his legs under him, and he missed it.
I will not be lying if I said I'm cheering for them to lose the next game.
Oh,
by
go
the way.
Wolves tonight.
Yeah, go Wolves, yeah.
And by the way, I don't put him in a breakout star because we already knew he was a star.
I know where you're going.
Anthony Edwards, 43 points in that game.
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, there are minutes when you watch him, it's kind of Jordan-esque.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's got a certain, remember the old expression duende that they
Yeah,
used to
yeah,
use
yeah,
about
yeah, good
Jose
word.
Canseco,
Good word.
Canseco, a certain amount of charisma, sports charisma
Good word.
about him. He's always got a smile on his face.
Yep.
He likes the competition. He likes getting right up in LeBron's face,
Yeah.
in matchups and one-on-one.
Yeah.
A great player.
He's so athletic.
Denver series.
That's the one. That's the good series out west, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Denver Clippers. Guys, I'll let you take this one.
Very entertaining. Love to watch it.
The games are on late, though.
Yeah, I haven't been able to watch all of it. Jokic, he's just a clinic out there. His passing is still unbelievable when you watch. And him and Murray, I think, Jim, you said this a number of times, that is the number one pick and roll tandem.
Absolutely.
just fun to watch him. He's just a great player. Gordon, that shot by Gordon to win that game was amazing at the buzzer. I watched it about 20 times. It was good.
Yeah.
All 20 times it was good.
Yep. Every time you watch it, you said, that's good, that's good, that's good. I'm glad they made the right call. Great series. And now we're watching Kawhi Leonard play again. And, he was one of my favorite NBA players before he hit all the injuries. So
Yeah. I said it before, say it again. This is the series in the first round.
Yeah.
This could be a Western Conference final. You have the best player in the world. You have the best pick and roll. Jamal Murray with 43 last night in a game 5, crucial game 5, to use the cliche, right? Jokic is phenomenal. And I'll say, Kawhi Leonard, if he's healthy, in my book, and then I think in a number of people, he's the second best player in the league because he can get his shot. He gets to his spot.
Anytime.
He's a mid-range shooter, and he's phenomenal on defense, the claw. And he's played great.
Yep.
So wouldn't shock me if the Clippers win and send this to 7. And, it's been great to watch. And that play, Jokic in his press conference said that in a EuroLeague game, and they had the film. Somebody dug it up. Exact same play, not with Jokic. And I thought of Charles and Wittenberg, NC State, 1983, Jimmy Valvano. That was the same, and Isola said the greatest air ball in the history of the NBA.
Right.
So, great
Maybe.
series. Westbrook came back last night.
Yeah. Wow. After
He
missing
missed
a couple of
He
games.
missed a game.
2 games. I think he missed 2
Yeah.
games.
And by the way, Jokic has gotten minutes off. He's usually playing 42,
Yeah.
which I think is the right amount for a star.
Yeah, I think what we want as Celtics fans is for the West to be as difficult as possible.
right.
At every round. Go 7.
Because
Go
OK
7.
City,
Because, OKC, they're the Cleveland of the West.
they just wiped that.
Well,
They
whoever
just wiped them
wins,
out.
right? Whoever wins this series to play Oklahoma City, and we haven't gotten to that series yet, but that could easily be a Western Conference final. Clippers, Thunder, Nuggets, Thunder. It's a final. It's
Yeah.
an NBA final
Yeah.
if they were in different conferences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have much to add on OKC. It's similar to the Cleveland series. They've been pretty dominant.
Although they were down 20-something.
Yeah, the one
29
thing
in
I
one
would
game.
say about that is they were down 29 in a game
And one.
and won at Memphis.
Biggest
That's-
comeback ever, right? In a playoff
Is
game?
it? That's a big deal. And then, credit to Memphis, down 3-0. I know you're at home, but down 3-0, could have packed it in, right? You're
Right.
playing 68-win team. They lost by 2 in Game 4 without Morant.
Right.
I know there's no, what do they call them?
Moral victory.
Moral victories in pro sports, but if I'm a Memphis fan, that's about all that's
Yeah,
pretty
they
good.
played them tough.
Yeah, the first 2, you're right. I mean, it was like,
It's going to be interesting.
it was like, watching a team in an A level at a B level.
For next year, it'll be interesting seeing about the Ja Morant thing. He's just
Yeah, he's incredible talent, but there's a lot of,
a lot of stuff.
a lot of
going
stuff
on
Comes with a
going
lot of
on around
baggage.
there,
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just about time to wrap it up, guys.
One more.
You want to do the other series?
I'll just make
Go
a
ahead.
brief comment. Not a big fan of his, but playoff Jimmy the other night, he is
that's
clearly hurt. He came back and played. Curry did not have his best game. I think he got 16 points. Playoff Jimmy came back and scored 27, and he's hurt. You can tell he's hurt. And they won the game, and they're up 3-1. You got to give
believe
him
that.
props or scouts.
I'm not giving Jimmy Butler anything.
I mean, just
I
for the
don't like
game.
him.
Just
Nope.
for the game. Yeah, it's funny. Draymond Green says, you hear that term, and then he gets to your team, and it's like, yeah, it's real. Which, by the way, I'm not sure that's a compliment. What does that mean? He dogs it in the regular season?
Yeah, well, maybe that is what it means.
And count as championships. How many has he got, Paul?
Oh,
Right.
Let me guess. None.
0.
And he's a problem on his way out.
Yeah, he's always a
Every
problem wherever he goes.
city. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it does appear to have been a good pickup for.
Oh, God, it's
State.
changed their team.
Yeah, it's
I
maybe.
really thought Houston was going to win that series. especially-
I said Warriors in 7, but I don't know.
I thought Houston would win it. Defensively, they were great all year.
Could
long.
end tonight.
All right, so when we come back next week,
Yeah.
we'll know a lot more. I think all the series will be settled by then.
Yep.
Yes, they will.
And we'll just have more sports talk here on Boston Sports Net. See you next time.
Thank you for watching Boston Sports Nuts. You can find all of our episodes available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. For more information, go to westwoodmediacenter.tv or follow Boston Sports Nuts on Facebook, Instagram, and X.